Joaquin, Theresa, Chris, welcome back to the Horror Happens Radio Show. Congratulations on the release of The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher. Major release. You can pick it up everywhere. Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, just about anywhere you can get a DVD. How is everyone doing?
Very
excellent.
good.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
It's great to be back, Jay.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you guys and gals back. Of course, the director, Joaquin Montalvan, the man with the plan, the beautiful Theresa Holly, and of course Chris Shumway. Ladies and gentlemen, this is great to have you on. It's also a little sad to have you on. And why don't we start there? Let's start with a little bit more of the sad, and we'll work into the amazing and celebration. How has everything been since the legend, the Hillbilly Butcher passing away, Paulie Rez passed? Joaquin, let's start with you. How has things been since his unfortunate passing?
It's been weird. It's been rough in that he was the lead in my first 3 films, and he's Teresa's and Chris are a strong presence in The Butcher as well. But Paul essentially has to carry the film as Carl Henry Jessup and the Hillbilly Butcher, and to lose him, it's a huge loss. And
all of us.
Yeah, and
one of us, yeah.
It's very weird because I know he's gone intellectually, but there's a feeling that he's gone. But at the same time, I was editing documentaries on the making of The Butcher, and the last thing I filmed with him is the film I did before The Butcher, Whole, which is coming out in 2015 from Wild Eye. I did a documentary on that, and I filmed him for that. That was the last thing I filmed with him, and so in a way, to me, it's like he's not gone. I feel him around me everywhere. In fact, I did a music video the other day for the end credit song of The Butcher called "Welcome to Hell," and I was doing that, and I filmed his last interview inside that shed, and
wow.
Paul would smoke Pall Mall cigarettes, and I found the last cigarette butt that he smoked in my presence while we were filming, and I have it in my room here in back of me in what I call my Hillbilly Butcher altar. It's maybe some people think that's a little weird, but I have this corner in my room that is in honor of Paul and the Butcher.
We don't think you're weird at all.
No, not even a little
Not
bit.
even.
And you know what? Looking at this, and Theresa Holly, Ray Lynn in The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher, available now.
Fantastic.
Theresa, you had that connection on screen with Paul. It's got to be something. I know you all miss him. We miss the talent. We miss the person he was.
Yeah.
From the perspective of being that female lead in the film, talk a little bit about the time it's been since his passing.
I'm kind of getting choked up already. Actually, it was very difficult because the way I found out was right after returning home from a vacation. A very wonderful, loving, family-oriented vacation. And about maybe a week before I left, Paul and I were discussing over the phone, getting together and working on some more stuff. We got some more scene stuff to do and some more places I wanted to try to explore and hit with him, and he was on board. And literally before I even walked through my door, someone texted me to tell me, and I sort of thought it was an April Fool's joke, like a really bad late April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
And it took me a good 2 weeks, I think, to get to a place where I wasn't constantly tearing up. He was a very...
He was a hell of a dude.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
I've
He
known
really
him for
was.
many years,
I trained with him for a long time, and it was great to work with.
Testament to who he was as an actor, the 2 people sitting next to me here, Chris and Theresa, Paul introduced me to them. So, he wasn't one of those guys. Oh, I'm Joaquin's guy. I'm not going to let him use anybody. I don't want anybody supplanting me. Chris he might choose Chris over me. He was not that kind of guy.
Not even.
He brought other people into the fold, and even this another guy, Martin McSweeney, who plays opposite Mary, who runs away and gets stuck in the basement. that was
Yeah.
also introduced to me by Paul. So he,
Talk
as an
about a
actor,
scene. I loved it when Paul whacks him with that whack. Just beautifully done. Whack.
he was a very giving guy in many ways.
Even with a bat.
Yeah.
He's the reason I met him. He's the reason I met Joaquin.
I'm here with the cast of The Legend of Hillbilly Butcher, director Joaquin Montalvan, Theresa Holly, and Chris Shumway. And Chris, welcome to the show. This is the first time
Thank you.
are here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you know what? We appreciate the time and coming out and stepping in for this and being a part of this celebration. Looking at the way now the film coming out and the way that you memorialize Paul and that everlasting spirit of the man, the actor, the success that he was in creating these characters. What did you learn working alongside with him and knowing him over the years?
I learned that he had one of the biggest hearts you'd ever want to meet in a man. He was a great human being. He really was. He was fantastic to work with. He was so real. And he had a presence about him that for most people would probably just put them back in their chair. But once you knew him and you worked with him, you knew what a big heart he had and what a really special kind of individual he was. It was a thrill to work with him on this film. It was an honor, actually. Absolutely.
Wow.
And like Joaquin says, Paul brought me in to the fold.
Yeah.
And introduced me to Joaquin, and it's been great ever since.
You know, Jay, he was the lead in my 3 films, and he played these extreme characters in these films. But you know, if you ever were to meet him, if you ever to come on my house, on my porch, and he was there, he was like the shyest, nicest guy. You'd almost think like, that guy?
Yeah.
That's the butcher?
That's the dude that kills and eats
great
people?
actor, though.
Yeah.
Can I mention one tiny thing?
Yeah.
If you yourself, JK, want to see another side of him, just really quick, he has a web series on the web right now called The NoHo Show. An absolute different look at another character that gives you a little more insight into another softer side of Paul that people didn't get to see a whole lot.
Yeah, that's straight up comedy, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's
and it's
doing
really
straight up
neat
comedy
look
in that.
at another side
Yeah.
to Paul.
Yeah. He was also in a thing called Lottopalooza,
Yeah.
where he played another character called Carl, but again, this is a comedy, no darkness.
Yeah. Wow. And that's incredible to be able to see the diversity that comes along with this character. And we're here, we're talking about The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher. It's available right now to purchase Amazon, DVD release. And, you know, Chris, I'll go back to you for a second. Working on this project, being an actor in Hollywood, in independent film and horror and stuff, you know, this is the kind of movie that falls into a niche in itself. It has a grindhouse feel. It's independent horror. It has a story. It's not all gore and then killings and stuff. It builds to it. There's a reason for it. When you were offered this opportunity to work with Paul and Theresa and Joaquin and cast and crew, what was it like to take on this endeavor as Billy Ray?
Oh, it was great. This was my first major role in a film.
Yeah.
And trying to put Billy Wayne together was really quite easy, since he's got only 2 things on his mind, the poor fella. One is moonshine, and the other thing...
Springtime, butterflies, and joy.
Yeah, her name is Theresa.
That's
all he wanted was moonshine and Theresa.
I thought it was another word.
Well,
Oh.
it is another word. But
want
we'll
to-
leave it at Theresa.
I want to see Billy Wayne pull that tongue out.
Whoa. And this is being recorded, folks.
Yes, it is, and video too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And Theresa, for you, looking at this now, I mean, we've already talked about, you know, working with Paul and the impression that you make as Ray Lynn. I mean, you know, what kind of relationship was it on and off camera with Chris?
With Chris? Chris and I met the day we had that wonderful scene that your viewers and hopefully many others will see.
Yeah.
I cannot give detail. Did we just end up off the air?
Hello?
We're
That's
back
our
here in the
first
show. We're going to
actual
bring up.
scene. We did that
We're going to
before,
bring him
yeah.
right back up now. Actually, hey,
Hey,
you
sorry.
guys there?
Yeah, we had I think Paul didn't like what we were saying, and he cut the call.
Well, he doesn't like what he doesn't like how Billy Wayne is talking to Ray Lynn.
No,
already.
that
I was just mentioning that scene.
That was it.
When I was,
Oh my God! But you know what, Theresa? You know the chemistry between you, Chris, and Paul in the film—that is the crux of the story for the Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher, which is available right now. Theresa, talk a little bit about that chemistry and building it through the perspective and lens that Joaquin brought for this film.
Sure. I was going to mention that my first meeting with Chris was actually not too long before we have that really interesting scene that I can't mention in detail right now, so it doesn't ruin it. But
It was a little intense.
that's actually when I met Chris. So that was nice. Nice to
Yeah.
meet ya.
Nice
Yeah,
to meet you too.
I don't waste any time introducing male and female actors.
Yeah,
there,
we just
Jay.
got no time for
Yeah.
any of that small talk. Let's get right to business.
So that was really fun. And I think we had pretty good chemistry right away, considering we just met.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out really well.
And actually, Chris and I just hit it off really quick, a few words, and we felt like, just souls meant to be in some journey together here in The Butcher. And then off screen, can I really tell you about all that?
Don't tell them about that part, doggone it.
I'm just kidding. Chris is a sweetheart. Seriously, I can't say how just blessed I feel to be involved with this movie with so many awesome people, because you can get yourself in trouble sometimes in a horror movie with the wrong people. And everybody was wonderful. But I have to say,
look at poor Johnny Depp.
there really wasn't a whole lot of difference between on and off screen. I kind of like to keep my on-screen time as real. So once I clicked with Chris in real life, I just use that for on screen, and it's the same dynamic to me. Just genuine. You want something from someone, and it shows through. So
Wow.
And she's a real trooper, because that intense romantic scene that doesn't involve any kind of sex, if you will, that was her idea to do it. And I mentioned it in the script, and I was going to shoot a snippet and treat it as a flashback. And she was like, no, why don't we just shoot it? And the same thing with the mirror scene where she's getting ready for the date.
The date.
Same thing. That was her idea. Why don't we just shoot it? And I was like, okay, you got the chutzpah to shoot it. I'll film it. And so that's thanks to her we have those scenes. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen.
Yep.
just
This
an actress
girl's a
looking
trooper.
for some challenge.
Absolute trooper. Because that was a pretty intense scene. And the intensity of that scene carried on for quite a while after the scene was done. So it was
ridiculous fun.
Yeah.
It was fun as hell.
and you know what? To see it on there, the believability of it, the emotion that goes along with it, it's one of the factors, Joaquin, that really led to the success of this film, winning it, being nominated, winning at Polygrind last year, and now being released on Whacked Movies, I believe.
Yes.
And available for DVD and Amazon. Joaquin, how does it feel to know that the DVD was going to get, the treatment of getting out there to the general public and horror movie fans of different decades and different styles to see a film that was more narrative-based rather than just, short, impulsive horror?
Right. It's very rewarding, man. This was my quickest film. It only took me 9 months, which for some people, that's a long time. But it was basically 6 months of shooting and 3 months of editing. And then to have it come out, essentially two years later, finally, it's completely rewarding. And, I have nothing but great things to say about Chad Clinton Freeman over at Polygrind.
Oh, yeah.
And Glenn Coburn of Whack Movies.
You bet.
He's let me in through the whole process. I might as well put my signature on the DVD because he let me be involved with every aspect. There's a 1 hour making of doc. I made that. There's our Horror Happens radio show interview from December of 2012 that's on there. There's a short film that I made that kind of inspired me to do The Butcher called Straight Razor. And everything that I wanted on there that I made, it's, you know, he's shown the film love, he's shown me respect, and it's come out the way it should have come out, the right way, with the right vibe and the right feel to it.
That's
And
because
I love the poster.
That's because you, dude, edited that dude and put it together so well, and it's fantastic. I love the way you put it together.
It's
Thank you, man.
great
Thank
too.
you.
Having so many of my friends tell me they love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's rewarding.
It's very nice to have people say, "Hey, Billy Wayne, what's up with you and Ray Lynn?"
I mean, our faces
Oh
are
my
on
God.
T-shirts. What?
Oh yeah, we got.
What?
I gotta pimp the T-shirts, man. We got
Yeah.
Hillbilly Butcher rags for sale now, man.
Halloween T-shirts.
Oh, wow.
Halloween T-shirts.
Just
Yeah.
Google Hillbilly Butcher rags and it'll come up.
There it is.
Nice.
Get
nice.
yours.
And I'm here with director Joaquin Montalvan, actress Theresa Holly, actor Christopher Shumway, here on the Horror Happens radio show. We are being recorded both audio and video here on the show again, and it's nice to have that kind of coverage and be a part of it. And Joaquin, I thank you for those opportunities to talk about the film, for the interview, the conversation that we had back some months ago. But Theresa, let me ask you this. Did
Okay.
you cry, laugh, scream, or all of the above, or pass out when you heard about the film being picked up for DVD?
Can I be honest? I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't surprised. I know how Joaquin works, and I know that he had a nice, solid cast. I'd like to say crew as well, although he's mostly the crew. So of course that's solid. And some other, Bob Badways, of course Eunice Font. So
And Randy Barnes, sound
the
design.
people involved, had no doubt it was going to be sold. For me, it was a matter of when.
Nice.
And so I'm very, very lucky to have a movie I'm proud of out and available. But yeah, I still laughed and cried and did the whole shebang because, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Well,
I was
I
gonna say,
didn't
Chris, did you
cry.
that also?
Was I supposed to cry?
You should have cried, Chris. What did you say?
I was gonna say, Chris, did you cry? Did you laugh? Did you scream? Did you pass out?
Dude, I screamed like a little girl.
No, he told me he had an orgasm.
Oh, all right. I love
Isn't
it.
that what you said?
Shawang.
Well, the next movie, I'm going to
Boing.
pretend it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, Theresa, where are you sitting? Make sure you're not in any distance, okay? Just be careful.
I got her far away from.
You gotta keep her away from Billy Wayne, you know.
I'm in the middle.
You're an old boy. It's a sandwich.
Yeah, I'm leaning back though. I'm leaning back.
Oh my God! Oh my God! We are here with the cast and director of the Hillbilly Butcher, live and uncensored in the Horror Happens radio. We've got a little time left here. You know what, Joaquin? The way things are going now, with the film getting out there, doing Film Fest, really getting the love that it deserves. It was on our top list for 2012. Excuse me. It was on our top list for 2012. Talk a little bit about what you've been up to now since the film has been put out. I mean, it's been a while now for it.
Sure.
What have you been up to working? Have you been working with Theresa and Chris? What have you been up to?
A lot of scheming and planning. Apart from the documentaries on that I did on the Hillbilly Butcher, gutting the Hillbilly Butcher, or how we cooked up the movie. Whole, which is the film I did with Paul and Theresa's in it. Before the Butcher is coming out in early 2015 from Wild Eye Releasing. I did a documentary on that that's actually like 73 minutes long. It's called Surviving Whole. And I just did a music video, Welcome to Hell, for the end credit song for the Butcher. And I've written up basically a scene-by-scene outline of the next film that I want to do, which I hope to start shooting by the end of this year, which is basically kind of an apocalyptic multiple genre film.
Wow. Okay.
And it's going to have another title akin to The Butcher. But I don't want to say the title yet. But it's going to have another.
Okay.
It's going to have another exploitation title.
I love that.
and
I
because I
love
want
that aspect.
yeah, I want to riff off of what I did in The Butcher, but do something with a little more of an epic scale to it, and something that has a bigger. What I'm most proud of in The Butcher is the capturing of a culture on film and a world on film. I myself love watching The Butcher because I love going to that world. And so I want to continue that aspect of a culture, not so much a culture, but maybe a dead culture, a culture that's now dead, that is gone, that is a part of America, a kind of America that is no longer here. It's dead and gone. What's left? A handful of people and maybe a town or something, and that culture, and then. The vibe of having this world, which is not regional now. It's basically a planet that is all every place on that planet is desolate and uninhabited and you don't a place you don't want to be. And so that's just kind of some ideas of where I'm going with the next thing.
And I was going to say, Joaquin, the aspect of exploitation, the way that the Hillbilly Butcher was filmed, the performances, it's got to be a learning lesson for the cast. And Theresa, for you, what kind of lesson did you pull from the Hillbilly Butcher, whether it was working next to Paulie Restas or, just being the character of Ray Lynn and being on set and being engulfed in the cinematic experience? Talk a little bit about the lesson you learned, Theresa.
Okay. Well, I would say the biggest lesson I learned was even if you have your own style, doesn't necessarily work with someone else's style. And so to come prepared with, how do I say this? To come prepared with the style that is requested, but to have your own bag of suggestions as well, and to whip that bag out, even if they're happy with everything you've just done. I learned a lesson that I get into it a lot, and I kind of need the director to say, okay, I'm good, because I'll just keep going until they say, okay, I'm good. And then the director will say, okay, that was perfect. Do you want anything else? And I say, I don't like to mess with perfection, so if you genuinely believe it's perfect, I'll go ahead and move on. My lesson would be not to move on, but to give a few more tricks that I might have up my sleeve. You never know how they might edit that.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Paul was really good. I mean, Paul would kind of give me what he thought I wanted because we had a shorthand, but Paul loved that after he did that, and I was happy with what he'd done. I'd say, okay, do what you want. Give me something different. And Paul loved that. And Theresa, I noticed, was not used to that, and she thought, well, I gave you my best and you liked it, so
right.
And that's fine, but it's just a different style. Everybody has their style. Chris, I don't remember how you were about that.
It was more that I didn't want to waste your time.
Right, I hear you. I hear you.
I felt a pace, and I didn't want to waste that.
Right.
How I was
with doing multiple takes, and if we thought we got it, and doing it again, and
with each take, there's always a different angle. There's always a different look, and once it's all put together in the actual film, you get to play with each one of those, and you get to put the right one in its right spot. So I have no problem with doing 100 takes on a scene or whatever it takes. If the director, you or any other director, wants to do many scenes, that's fine.
There's a little thing on the doc that I can kind of reveal here. It's not giving a lot away in the doc, and it doesn't ruin your experience of watching the doc. But there's a scene towards the end where there's a moment between Raylyn and Carl where she's sitting down reading a Life magazine, and he's standing up, and she's like, "You seen Billy Wayne?" And she's like, "No, can't say I have." Well, we did do an improv after that, and I let it roll like 8 minutes. I was trying to see if there would be a moment of tenderness that I could show between the two to kind of just make it more poignant when they confront each other at the end. And I didn't use any of it. And there's a little bit of a deleted scene in the documentary where I show a little moment from that. But I'll tell you what did happen as a result of that. So I didn't show what came out of that 8-minute improv. But there's a line reading when Carl walks away. He says, "I ain't never gonna see this house clean again, am I?" And there's the way he said that. There's a tenderness to her that was as a result of having done that 8-minute improv.
I'm
So,
blushing.
so even though the 8-minute improv was not used, thank God, because
Yeah.
that's a long ass scene.
Yeah.
But it did color a line reading and give it a little bit of tenderness, which I think is valid
Yeah.
and important.
There you go.
Wow. And you know what? That personal touch, that interaction is one of the things that makes The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher a special film, especially in the modern day
Yeah.
CGI enhanced visual experience. You want something that is narrative and character driven. We talked about practical effects earlier with Jack Bennett. It's something that interaction and human emotion is like practical effects, and it makes a difference within the film. And I think Joaquin, looking at it now, doing the documentary, looking back at the film, and all the memories that come back to you, it's got to be something that is one of those special tools that you take away from it with this experience.
Amen, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's no disrespect to other people I worked with on other films. I love them all, but this was the most fun for me to do, to work on, and the quickest. And I'm actually the most proud of this film, of all my films, and hopefully I'll be saying that about the next one as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, the next one should be a good time.
Yeah,
Boy, I
they're
hear
gonna
lots
be
about
they're gonna be in it.
people.
They're gonna be in it.
Yeah, we get to the next one
Oh.
too.
Wow, very nice,
Yeah.
guys, girls.
My position has been stepped up a little bit.
Yeah, it has. And Paul's spirit will be over that film.
Absolutely.
I've already written some stuff in there that I don't want to reveal, but his there will be a felt sense of a passage of a man in that film.
Wow, it's incredible to talk about it. The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher. It's out now, DVD on Amazon.com. You can pick it up. You know what, Joaquin? As we're looking at this now, it's the next project is on the horizon. You've had the success with Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher. For those fans who may have not seen it or are going to pick up the DVD, in fact, you know what, Joaquin, hold on a second.
Sure.
Theresa, I want it from you first. Ladies first. Talk a little bit about the film itself for the fans out there and what they can expect with this from the female perspective.
Okay, from the female perspective, I can honestly say I am not a horror fan. And with an unbiased opinion, I love this movie. So I think that might say a lot to some other women. It's a different kind of horror, and yet it's absolutely horror. I think if you're not into horror, maybe for the maybe stereotypical reasons you wouldn't watch horror, that this movie might change your mind. And it's a really great story. I picture a lot of my friends growing up. I grew up out in the boonies. I grew up where I can hop, skip, and jump and be in Mexico. And we used to have bonfires. And I picture a bunch of stories like this being told around a bonfire over a good, hour and a half, a good time drinking and kicking it with your buddies. So if you want to see a nice legend, that is actually based on a true story, and it makes you have some feels. It's not just in your face, blood and guts. It makes you have some feels.
Hey, Chris, for you, being someone who really is the catalyst for a lot of the events, a lot of the dominoes to fall, your perspective obviously is quite different from the others. Talk a little bit about what you see with the film and what fans can expect.
This film has got so many different elements in it. It's got the gore, and it's not overly gory. It's got suspense. It's got some funny in it. I mean, just some of the scenes that come through it, there is some funny. It's got a lot of different elements. and it'll pull different emotions out of people. There are times where you're going to feel sorry for one character or the other. There's another times where you're going to hate one character or the other. It's going to pull out different emotions out of you. It's
Nice.
it's good. I like the suspense that it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Joaquin, for you, you create a film for a smart horror fan.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is a film that also can go to the fan of the most simplest horror, exploitation, grindhouse. What about it from the actual mind behind it? You know, you can't be more proud of the release. Same thing with Theresa and Chris. In your opinion, the director talking right now here live and uncensored, what can the fans expect?
Well, I would say that if you're the kind of horror fan, that would love nothing more than to sit down on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon and plop in a VHS of that looks like shit, of the legend of of Boggy Creek or some such film like that, and that's it for you. That's heaven. You know, having a drink, watching that movie, then I made your heaven, man. Because that's what that film is about.
Hey man.
But you know, but it's got the gore, it's got dark comedy, it's got
great.
character study, it's got mood. I really like what Whacked Movies put on the bottom of the last thing they put on the bottom of the thing on Amazon. It says, "This trippy horror film looks like it could have been made by a hillbilly David Lynch with a Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
That's it.
And you know what, Joaquin, you talk about whacked films.
Yes.
That is, why did you end up going with Whacked? That's a very interesting thing with distribution, because there are probably other companies who may or may not fit this project. Why Whacked?
Well, I had an initial distributor whose name I don't want to mention,
Okay.
who's a great guy, and it's a great company, and he was interested in distributing the film, but he actually said I should go with Glenn Coburn at Whacked, because he said he doesn't have a lot of films he's putting out. Your film wants a lot of love put on it, and this guy Glenn over at Whacked will be able to give the film the love it needs. And I emailed him, and he called me, and he's from Texas. He's from Dallas, Texas, which is a kind of cool thing because Chainsaw, you know. And we
Texas.
talked for like 3 hours on the phone, and I love the guy's attitude. He got me. He got the film, and I thought, you know, what better way to go than with someone who loves and gets me and the film. I can't think of anybody better.
Wow. And it's a big business decision. It's one made with the heart and the head,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that so much from you guys and gals out there in California. You know what, Chris? Anything that you think the fans should know? Is there any stories we can close up here with about Paulie Redpath, about the aspect of filming The Legend of the Hillbilly Butcher? Give us one to take us out with as we go around the table one last time.
Well, in some of the areas that we were filming, some people were able to see some of what we were doing, but they didn't understand what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what was going on. And there's a scene where Paul and I are having a little drink, and, well, some things happened, and some of these people saw it, and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" I thought for sure we were all going to be taken away in handcuffs.
Yeah, these little kids that was a hot day.
It was really hot.
And they had a window open, and it was just far enough away to where you could see, but not too close. And all of a sudden I'm looking, and there's these two kids poking their head out, and then I'm looking, I go, shit, they're in frame. And I'm like, hey man, you guys, we're just shooting a movie. Can you guys close the window or something? You know, you're in my shot. And they were like, what? They didn't know what was hitting them. You know, they thought something was going down.
Smoke another bowl, dude, and get out of the window.
But it worked out fine that we got the shot, and there was nobody called the cops that time.
Yeah, that time.
That time.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What
There
about
was
you,
some- there was
Theresa?
some
What's
good
something
times.
you can close this out with?
I think I can just mention again when we were filming in the Arroyo, my final scene. If you remember that, I'm not going to give the details. It's a very important scene not to give details or spoil, but
Yeah.
No spoiler alert.
my final scene was a major commitment on my part because there really weren't a lot of resources to make sure we could do a certain portion of it more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I went for it, and needless to say,
It worked.
ambulance was called, police were called, and while I was away filming a different part, Paul and the makeup lady were, kind of holding down the fort for where we were, and because we were going to come back and film more. And apparently they were approached, and we were very lucky not to have business shut down and end up in jail.
Yeah.
Because the level of blood in that scene, there's a reason ambulance and police were called. I'll just say that.
Wow, that's insane. Joaquin, can you, here on the air, no one's listening to it right now. Joaquin.
Yeah, there's nobody out there at all. It's just us.
You know?
Well, no, the cops.
Yeah.
I was with Theresa filming, but I heard it from the makeup lady and Paul. The cops came because Paul couldn't see, and I won't say why. And the cops came up behind him, and he just hears a voice. You guys don't have permits, do you? And then he was like telling them no, and this and that. And then they were like, who's in charge here? And then they said, well, Joaquin, he's over there filming. And so they went looking for me. I was filming with Theresa, but they never found me. And then they didn't
Yeah.
let us stop shooting, though. They let us keep shooting, and they just said, next time you guys are going to do this, hang up a sign or something, would you? But so no, they let us keep filming. It wasn't a big deal in the sense that they stopped us or anything like that.
Yeah, that would be another lesson. When filming, with blood all over the place on you, have a sign.
Thank you, Pat.
Hang a sign.
PD
Have
from
a
no
sign.
less.
Just make sure it's
Joaquin,
not in frame.
We closed it out here on the Horror Happens radio show. It has been, as always, an honor. I look forward to the next conversation
Yes,
with
sir.
you, Chris,
You bet.
with you, Theresa,
Thank
with
you.
you, Joaquin. Joaquin, close it out with what the impact of Paul was on this film as Carl Lee Jessup. And talk about that impact as we close it out, and what is the significance for you with this film?
Well, Paul inspired the film literally. I think I've already said this, maybe not to you, but in other interviews. He basically, well, it's in the documentary. I mean, he literally, he had been off of work for some time, and he had let his hair go and his beard go, and he showed up on my porch as he would do, almost every other Friday, because he was on a weird schedule where he had every other Friday off, and we'd hang on my porch. And he showed up one day pretty much looking like the Hillbilly Butcher. And I told him, you look like a hillbilly, man. And I asked him if he was cool with looking that way for 6 months. And he said, yeah. And he said, why? And I said, well, I'd like to do a feature film with you as this guy. And I didn't have a name yet, but we started talking about it. And I just thought it was a hillbilly and it was a butcher. Hillbilly Butcher, that's it.